into the show.
Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Our largest single-theme land expansion ever.
Now we want you to share with us our latest and greatest dream.
Matterhorn Matt presents Matterhorn Mondays.
Hello, everybody. I hope you were able to hear that intro. I have to update my computer, and my audio settings got reset, which is always a pain in the butt. But hello, welcome to episode 165 of Matterhorn Mondays. I'm, of course, your host, Matterhorn Matt.
I feel weird saying the word co-hosts, with our guest here today, so I won't. I'm Jeremy.
And we are joined
I'm Alex.
by... Sorry. Alex. Yeah, Alex is back. Welcome, Alex. Glad to have you here today.
The rightful.
The rightful.
Glad to be back. Thank you.
In
The rightful.
Natural
Back
habitat.
Back on the throne.
Back on the throne. Exactly. Well, I guess
I
before
always
we
feel like a deposed king when Alex is back, or queen, rather.
True. I should move Alex's webcam on top of Jeremy's, so it would be like because Alex.
Wait, what?
I don't know what I was trying to say. Anyways, I guess before we continue on here, Alex, why don't you go ahead and take a second here to explain, just for the new viewers, what kind of videos you make on your channel? What kind of stuff have you been up to?
So I'm Alex the Historian, and on my channel I focus on Disney history, but mostly it's like stuff a lot of people haven't heard of, usually a lot of technical details and stories and anecdotes and things like that. Pretty soon I'll be introducing some new content to my channel, more opinion pieces and like weird little stories and things people haven't heard of, stuff like that. So it's not the usual like history channel, so please check it out.
Link below. Everybody go subscribe to Mr. Alex the Historian. His channel is linked, as well as our social media as well. Jeremy's Twitter, my Twitter, Alex's Twitter will all be linked in the description below. And if you'd like to be wished a happy birthday live on the show, you can do so by clicking the link, submitting your name and birthday, and we will add it to our birthday calendar. And looks like we have 3 birthdays this week. Tuesday the 30th, that's tomorrow. Chris, happy birthday, Mr. Chris. And Gregory, happy birthday, Gregory. And last but not least, Friday, this upcoming Friday the 2nd, is Ashley's birthday. Happy birthday to Ashley, as well as everybody else in the entire planet who is sharing birthdays throughout the week. Like I said, link below. Submit your birthday as well. You guys, 575-386-5814. Call in. Leave voicemails for us to listen to. We have a really interesting topic that we're going to be discussing, which I think you guys should prompt some questions from you guys. So hopefully we'll hear from you all. 575-386-5814. And
Don't be shy.
don't be
Give
shy.
us a call.
Yeah.
Call now.
You can use a funny voice too.
Call now.
Call now, yes. Call now. You can use a funny voice if you are shy about your voice. Do like a...
Or if your voice is already funny.
That's fine too. Do a normal voice instead.
Then we're sorry.
We're sorry. 575-386-5814. Yeah, we do have it has been another week filled with exciting news. So there's always a lot to talk about here on this show. But before we get into any of that, guys, I don't have a Snapple. I have the Snapple from last week, actually, still. Half drunk, half drank, half full.
Wow.
The bottle is still here.
It was that bad. Was that the mango?
It was the mango, yeah. I forgot about
Yeah.
it too. It wasn't the best, but I also did forget that I had it, so it's just sort of sitting there. It might be recompressed. Is that how the air will it still snap? I don't think it'll still snap, will it? Probably not. It's probably not worth. So no Matt
Snapple it.
snaps. Snapple it. I can make a snap with my my fingers and pretend. But anyways, yeah, no Snapple this week, you guys.
Oh,
Apologies.
okay.
Apologies for that. Next week, next episode, I will definitely have a Snapple for you all. But I'd like to sort of speed run through everything before our main topic today, because it's going to be a great conversation that we're excited to get into. News from the Peak.
We now present to you news from the Peak.
Yes, news from the Peak, Jeremy.
Yes.
How are you today?
Oh, well, I'm okay. I'm on the Peak here, and I see a bunch of news in front of me. And I think we'll start off with this first topic for news from the Peak today. Bob Weiss and Barbara Buza in new executive roles at Walt Disney Imagineering. Disney's restructuring Walt Disney Imagineering executive leadership. Bob Weiss was previously the president of Walt Disney Imagineering, and his new role is now president of creative and new experiences at Walt Disney Imagineering. Barbara Buza was previously president of business operations, design, and delivery, and her new role is now president of business management, design, and development. So this is part of it's interesting to me. It's part of the ongoing corporate restructuring that we've been seeing for the past year, which usually happens when there's a new CEO in town, as we know there is. To me, it's really interesting because what this sounds like is that the leadership of Walt Disney Imagineering as a department is almost being shared by Bob Weiss, who's going to be in charge of creative decisions, and then the business part of it also having equal leverage, which is interesting because, and I'm trying to figure out if this will be a better structuring for it, because there's a potential for, if there's a good partnership there, that's like a Walt and Roy kind of thing. Also, it's interesting to see how, this works within the dynamic of Disney parks, experiences, and products. Having there be Josh D'Amaro at the head of that as an entire division, and then presidents of different niche things within the department itself. So it's not Bob Weiss, president of all of Walt Disney Imagineering, president of creative and new experiences at Walt Disney Imagineering. So that you can sort of see the structure that's coming into place for all the divisions, but that division now as well.
Very cool. Jeremy kind of reminds me of look-wise a younger Bob Weiss. Don't you guys see it? You guys see it? I mean, I do.
haven't had enough Snapple today. I don't know.
I don't think I have had enough Snapple. If I had more Snapple, then he would look exactly like Bob, probably. I don't know.
Yeah, Snapple.
Anyways, yeah, great news. But for our second bit of news,
I don't know if Alex had any thoughts.
Yeah, Alex, what are your thoughts on?
Because it's an interesting thing.
Well, I mean, it's interesting to see him move up. Because he's kind of been, oh my gosh, what is he, like a second generation Imagineer?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been really interesting to watch him grow, kind of go up through the ranks. So, congratulations to him. So
yeah, and I'm not really sure if it's like, is it? I guess it is kind of like going up in the. I think it's just a restructuring of the executive leadership in the department. So I think it's now like almost like these are the two presidents, like the two top leaders of Walt Disney Imagineering as a department, and then like above that, I don't know if it's like a pyramid, is like Josh D'Amaro as the entire head of Disney parks, experiences, and products as a division. That's how I see it anyway. I don't know, but you're right. You're right. Yes, so he's still at that top role, which is good to see.
Yeah, congratulations. We forgot to buy a cake or at least a cupcake to like light for him. Also Barbara as well. Next time, maybe if Jeremy reminds me, I'll bring a cake. A Mickey Mouse cake. But for our second bit of news from the Peak today, this is exciting news for all of you Star Wars fans out there. The new cast for the Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus TV show has been announced. Production has actually begun as well for the highly anticipated Obi-Wan Kenobi series for Disney Plus. Series directed by Deborah Chow, who also directed 2 episodes of The Mandalorian Season 1. And as you can see in this image here, very exciting news. Of course, Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen are set to return and, most likely reprise their roles from the prequel movies. Unless they're cast as somebody else. That would definitely be pretty cool. But other cast includes Moses Ingram, Joel... A lot of names. How do I pronounce
Edgerton.
Edgerton. Thank you.
I was going to remind you to look up pronunciation. This is about to
Google
get very
Translate.
difficult for you.
Oh my gosh. Other cast include Moses Ingram, Joel
so bad.
Edgerton, Bonnie PC, Kumail.
Well, they're the names.
Johnny.
We don't need to.
Names are that you can see them on the screen.
Yeah.
Great cast.
That was good, actually.
I forgot how much of a train wreck Matt can be.
I should really practice pronunciation words, I guess. I don't know.
You're good.
Yeah.
You're good, and we love you.
Yeah.
And
Love you just
more
the way you
importantly,
are.
the audience loves you.
Oh, yes. I know. Thank you, everybody. But yeah, star-studded cast. I'm, of course, very excited. I love Ewan McGregor as an actor, as well as Obi-Wan Kenobi. Hayden Christensen, I'm excited to see where they take the character. He's probably going to be playing Darth Vader, unless he plays Anakin in, like, flashbacks or something. It could really go a lot of ways. I'm very excited to see this. Jeremy, any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm kind of at the point. It's weird. I feel like I'm exhausted with right now. I'm excited for this series. Don't get me wrong. I'm excited for this. But there was so much announcement over all of these Star Wars series, all of these Marvel series that are going to be developed, and everyone's really excited. Now I'm kind of at the point of, oh God, am I getting to the oversaturation, exhaustion already? So we'll see.
Fair.
I'll probably, I might watch it. Yeah.
That's fair. I think I reached that point when Episode 9 came out, the Rise of Skywalker, last Skywalker.
Right.
Well, I don't even know. But then, Mandalorian rejuvenated my Star Wars energy. But Alex, what are your thoughts on this cast announcement for Obi-Wan Kenobi series?
Well, I'm really excited about it. I'm actually really glad that they're bringing back Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen, and then introducing these new characters and things like that. I'm not even kidding. I'm really looking forward to this show.
Awesome.
And the reason is because, I know a lot of people are talking about like the fatigue of, having all this Star Wars content. But for me, the way it's been is all the Star Wars content that in terms of movies, at least, maybe not Mandalorian, but the movies have been all like crap in my opinion. So I haven't been very happy with it. So when they came out with Mandalorian, I was like, okay, this is better. And then when they announced Obi-Wan, I was like, okay, now this I have a feeling is going to be good. So I'm excited about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really hit their stride with The Mandalorian, and that, if anything, using the first 2 seasons as like proof of concept for the future of Star Wars as TV. I'm very optimistic about this Obi-Wan series, as well as, the other series they have in the works as well, which I can't remember off the top of my head. But, Jeremy, what is our final bit of news from the Peak today?
Yeah, some sad news. Disney legend Jim Cora has died at 83 last week. Jim Cora started as a cast member at Disneyland back in 1957, and Walt Disney himself promoted him to a training and development role at the then new Disney University. In 1971, he made his way up through the company ranks from that starting point. In 1971, he implemented the Disney Way of Leadership program for Walt Disney World. In 1983, he was the managing director of operations for Tokyo Disneyland, attached to that project well before opening. He was also then moved on to master planning and site research for Euro Disney, which of course would turn into the beautiful Disneyland Paris. And after that, through the 90s and late 90s, he was the part of the creative direction for Tokyo Disney Sea, everyone's favorite park that we don't get to, that feels so distant from us here in the United States.
Yeah.
He eventually retired as chairman of Disney International in 2001, and he was named a Disney legend in 2005, and of course, sadly passed away at 83 last Sunday, March 21st. He does have a memoir coming up that'll be published called Not Just a Walk in the Park, My Worldwide Disney Resorts Career, to be published this year. I'm looking forward to reading that and hearing all that basically the entire history of the theme parks through his eyes from the beginning of that history, pretty much, when, 1957. I'm looking forward to that. Jim Cora is kind of an unsung hero in terms of Disney history, in terms of the Disney legacy. He is up there in equal measure with Marty Sklar and John Hench in terms of defining the Disney philosophy and aesthetic, and passing that down to future generations. So he's up there with that, and he's not talked about as much as those two, but he's a part of that, of literally defining that, everything we know and feel about that. So. Yeah, Alex, I don't know. You probably know more about Jim Cora than I do, or most people do, I'd assume. I don't want to put pressure on you, but I don't know if you have anything to add about his legacy or things he contributed.
No, I mean, you actually said it all.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well,
you gotta give me a little something to talk about. When we talk about these.
Well, I thought you'd have something to add or expand upon.
Hard to do that when you read off a whole book.
Well,
Jeremy just got owned right now. F in chat for Jeremy, as well as Mr. Jim Cora. Rest in peace. Age of 83.
Yes,
that is a big number.
Great life,
83.
great career.
Yeah, he will be missed. But I think that wraps up this week's news from the peak. I got it. Don't worry, I got it. Coming up, first, vaccine passport drama in Florida and new guidelines in California. That's up ahead on the COVID rundown. And then, for our final topic, what in the world is Disneyland Forever? We'll clear up some misconceptions and share our thoughts.
Did I accidentally write forever? Forward. Okay.
Forward. Did I say forever?
That's I always start typing forever when
yeah,
so
I guess
got
it's just like
paranoid as well,
instinct.
so.
Flip of the keys.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to be clearing up some misconceptions about the newly announced Disneyland Forward and share our thoughts on what could be some exciting future news. All of that up ahead, but first, question of the week. I should have like a drum set like over here, and I could do like a riff as the theme song, like a
that would be really
riff.
Cool.
I don't know how to play drums though. Well, I have my Guitar Hero guitar. I could strum along, except there would be no notes playing. It'd just be the plastic sound. Anyways, question of the week, everybody. It's of course time for everybody's favorite segment. You ask the questions, and we will answer the questions, from outrageous hypotheticals to hot takes and beyond. Link is of course below to submit for your questions for question of the week. And we do have a great question this week. Let's see. This week's question comes from WED Fan 97. And this is a great question. Are there or have there ever been plans to remove any classic attractions like the Tiki Room, Small World, Haunted Mansion, Pirates, Storybook, Peter Pan, Toad, or the Grand Canyon from Disneyland? Kind of Yeah, great question. Not necessarily a thinking question like some of our previous ones have, but it's a great one nonetheless.
It's a perfect question when we have, Alex here, because
Yeah.
otherwise we'd be like speculating, and I feel like Alex is going to have very specific examples, if it's even true.
Well,
Yeah.
we can start with Alex. What are your thoughts
Do you want
here?
to? Okay. As far as I'm aware, those specific attractions that were named, there hasn't been any, I don't want to say never, but there hasn't been any official plans to replace those specific attractions, at least not in the last 10 years. But through my insiders, there has over the years been rumor of the replacement of those attractions. But a lot of those rumors ended up being, you know, not working out that way. But not I wouldn't want to say false, because false implies that the rumor was never based in reality.
Mhm.
But it was. It's just that things took a turn and then those rides were saved. So for instance, I talked a couple years ago about how there were plans to find a different solution for It's a Small World. At first, the idea was to completely remove it altogether because, it takes up a lot of real estate, and and the ride's kind of aging and people don't really understand its meaning anymore.
Yeah.
But then that turned into a plan to move it, like further back, and then that plan turned into nothing. Then they decided, you know what, it's fine where it is. And then there were things like Peter Pan. There was talks in Imagineering about rebuilding it in a different location as a much larger attraction, but then they went and refurbished the original, and then those ideas just never came into play. So it's really more like a lot of these attractions, their plans of replacement get morphed into something else. The Grand Canyon, back when they were thinking of doing Lucasport, there was like plans to shorten the Grand Canyon diorama, and then they eventually it just didn't play out because they didn't build Lucasport. So things like that. There's like rumor of it that are based in actual reality because they've talked about it, but it's never, those specific attractions, it never panned out that they replaced them. And then of course, what was I going to say? There's never been an official announcement on any of those specific attractions. There
it is. Straight from the source, I guess you could say. Straight from Alex.
Yeah, I would not have been able to answer that. So
yeah, I do remember
there we go.
talking a while
and now
back,
you've said it all. I have nothing to say.
Oh my God.
Now you know how it feels.
I feel great. I feel enlightened. I learned something.
When the show is over, I'm going to punch you in the face.
Oh!
I know. I'll book my flight to Oregon right now, so you can do it.
Yeah, we'll find you a nice place to stay and everything, just that way I can punch you.
Yeah.
All right.
Of course.
It's a good
I
trade-off.
do remember talking a while back of something about moving It's a Small World back further, talking about that on the show here. So that was, nothing came of that, of course. And I think if they did end up like making announcements to remove like Haunted Mansion or Pirates, you got to think, what are they doing at this point? Is it even worth it to?
Yeah, that would certainly be there would be a seismic reaction if that would happen. But it depends on what it is, what's being replaced with. But that's a whole.
2.
We don't need to talk about. We don't need to have an hour conversation.
Yeah.
Anyways,
different video, different time,
different show. When they do announce it.
When they do, of course.
Yeah, when they do announce it.
Well, shout out to WEDFan97 for that great question this week. And of course, a link will be below for you to submit your own questions of the week. Really anything Disney related, we will answer. Disney history related. We love questions, answering stuff. But coming up, the COVID rundown. And then it's time. All things Disneyland Forward. But first... But first, we are going to have a quick word from the show's sponsors. If you guys are wondering where you can find even more family-friendly live streams just like this one, head on over to theliveplace.com. The Live Place is your headquarters for great family-friendly live streams. They cover anything from Disney to other vacation spots, various variety shows, and have some amazing streamers like Resort TV 1 and myself. Also, be sure to check out puckermint.com, where you can find amazing pins and stickers. Puckermint is based out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, just a few hours from where I live, and since I'm a big believer in supporting local artists, we decided to partner up. Be sure to use the coupon code down below when you make your next order. Again, that's puckermint.com and puckermint on Instagram.
Topic. Are we on?
Yeah, we're on.
Oh.
Just logistical
This is
stuff.
also a behind-the-scenes exclusive, so congratulations.
All right. Well, yeah. This week's COVID rundown. Oh, I just realized I moved my Stream Deck. I'm using a different Stream Deck, so I don't have the sound effect queued up, the sound bite queued up. So I can just imagine the People Mover music and Jason's voice. Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. COVID.
Oh my God.
I can do the topic after if you want.
Okay.
Or if you want it doesn't matter though.
Either or. We'll see. Well, we can do rock, paper, scissors for
Fine.
it. Best
Okay.
5 out of 8. And then we'll see what happens. All right, everybody. COVID rundown. For our first headline here today, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis to issue executive order banning federal vaccine passport quote-unquote plan. Now, falsely claims plan mandates vaccination. And, of course, links to all of these will be down in the description if you'd like to read up any further on this week's COVID rundown articles. Second, new theme park guidelines for California, including outdoor queuing and employer-provided weekly optional COVID tests for employees. Yeah, new updates from the guidelines from California, if you guys are interested in that. And finally, Californians over 16 eligible for vaccine on April 15th, just 2 weeks before Disneyland's grand reopening, which is kind of a convenient 2 weeks, I guess. Is the normal time, I think, between spreading out the 2 shots. Anyways, that has been...
Oh yeah, that's true.
I think so. Something like that. But that has been this week's COVID rundown. And you guys, it's time to get into something that kind of broke Diz Twitter this past week. This announcement of Disneyland Forward. Jeremy, why don't you go ahead and explain to us what the heck Disney announced this past week?
What is going on?
Yeah.
He's using the strong words now. The heck?
Oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah. Great. Okay, so this is the headline we have written for this topic, which is what we kind of think is what the headlines should have been throughout media, not spreading kind of misinformation. So Disney launches Disneyland Forward initiative in city of Anaheim. It's that simple. It's that simple. Now it's this whole complicated thing.
But
so
that
let's,
doesn't
let's,
get you clicks, Jeremy. You don't understand.
I don't care. The truth will out.
That's true.
That's Shakespeare.
Oh.
All right. So Disney launches Disneyland Forward initiative in the city of Anaheim. Last week, Disney announced the launch of the Disneyland Forward initiative. Disneyland Forward is a proposal to the city of Anaheim to change zoning policy. That's all it is. Current zoning policy limits what they can build on property and where. Anaheim approved zoning changes so that the land across from Disneyland could be changed from a parking district to a theme park district back in the 90s. This expanded Disneyland to the resort layout we know today, which of course includes Downtown Disney, the Grand Californian, and Disney's California Adventure. Disney's expressing interest now in rethinking how resort elements interact. There's a quote from their website, Disneyland Forward, which highlights what they are proposing. Quote, today, hotel, theme park, retail, and dining are all part of one immersive experience. Guests expect that the future of entertainment will seamlessly weave all uses together in ways that were hard to imagine 25 years ago. Disney released a piece of concept art accompanied by a rough master plan along with this announcement last week. This caused many to believe Disney had announced concrete plans for a third theme park or 2 expansions for Disneyland and Disney California Adventure. Neither of this is true. These pieces, the master plan and the concept art, serve as hypothetical visualizations for potential ways in which these spaces can be used in the future should zoning limitations be lifted. Hypothetical being the key word there. Yeah. Disney emphasized economic impact regarding job creation and potential influx of more guests to stimulate the local economy as well. If the city approves the initiative, Disney said they might create job programs for locals and advocate for permanent low-income housing. And I want to reiterate, just like the possible expansions, this too is highlighting the hypothetical possibilities if Disneyland Forward gets approved. It's nothing in this is a plan in development that we know of in the Walt Disney Company or Walt Disney Imagineering. So that's what that is. And I want to kickstart this conversation because, I know we're trying to simplify it and because, it kind of blew up and became this really complex thing. And I think there's a lot of complex things to talk about. But Alex, I want to know, what was your initial reaction to this, to the news and media, to the news in general, and then also the media response and, fan community response?
The news in general, like when I first heard about it, I was catching wind of a bunch of the false narrative of it. Initially, the first things I heard was this is gonna happen. Like this is what they're building. And so I was kind of like, oh, that's interesting, and I went and looked it up and I had to read several different articles to really gain an understanding. And by the time I did, I was like, okay, maybe I should make a video about this where I'm doing this. So I did a live stream on my channel where I was reading up on one of the articles. People think it's the only one I read, which was Mice Chat, and it's not. I read several, but I read from Mice Chat on the thing. But anyway, I was reading up a bunch of articles on it, and then finally, after I did the live stream, someone recommended to me the actual Disney Forward website, which I looked at, and finally I had a full understanding of what was going on. And that's when I learned that it's not an official announcement of stuff they're building. It's just that they want to rezone and they need to do. And honestly, so the the whole thing about it, like how I feel about it is so with everything Disney does, there is a good side and a bad side. So, there's a positive and a negative. There's pros and cons. And for me, in my opinion, I feel that the pros outweigh the cons. And so I actually am excited that Disney is trying to get their resort kind of rezoned and stuff like that, because I do believe that in the future this will benefit. Now, I don't know if you want to go further into that later, or if you want.
I'm trying to. I did something kind of different this time where we want to hit certain things, so we're not just talking for 3 hours like that we can do. So we're gonna hit. I have a whole category with pros and cons that we're gonna get into.
I'm catching up on these. I'm smart.
Oh yeah.
Maddie, do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I do. My reaction was the same as Alex's as well. I did see a lot of course, media Twitter accounts. Oh my God, third park is announced. Oh my gosh, is that even people looking at the concept art, and I guess we should sort of I want to like nail like I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how to word this. I really want to emphasize what exactly this is to clear up a lot of confusion that's been going around Twitter, going around, of course, the media cycle, everything. I don't want to linger on any of the pieces of like the concept art, just because it is very. Is there like a term for like blue sky, but like before blue sky?
You hit the nail right on the head. I was even gonna say like this isn't even like concept art proposal. This is not even blue sky. This is like it has nothing to do with that.
This is cloudy sky.
It's hard to kind of retrain everyone's brain to be thinking about this. It has nothing to do with that yet. Yeah. But all this is a hype. All this art that we see before us on the screen right now, that's just
Beautiful
it's a hypothetical. A hypothetical visualization of the potential for that space. You know, that's what it is. And if we do see something like this, it's not going to be till the end of the decade, if not the beginning of the next decade. This, it has, it's the same thing. If you go back to the 90s, that starts, we enter the 90s and that whole initiative of rezoning starts then as well. So,
oh no,
it's gonna take a while.
Not again.
Not again.
Not again.
Yeah, and we are going to be taking. I think we're going to be taking a deeper look into all of the pieces of concept art, the master plan later on in our discussion. But
once we like clear the air, then we can do our kind of armchair imagineering thing. But
can I just add
yes
that so I know that this concept art is hypothetical. But I can't help but feel like deep inside there are some actual thought out plans here.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, and we'll talk more about that when we talk about breaking down the concept art in a little bit.
Yeah, you got it, dude.
Because I agree. I absolutely agree.
Yeah, so I just wanted to like reiterate that we're trying to explain this like as best as we can. Just to we want to make sure we get.
I think to sum it up, it would be it's real, but it's not real.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
No, I know that's
the best way to sum it up is that it's real, but it's not real. No, it's the way. Yeah, let's go around. All right, that was Alex's few slogan summary. I think mine would be. It's probably going to be worse than the. I would say this is a political campaign was launched, not a creative an announcement for a project. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well worded, Jeremy. But yeah, I think I said all the disclaimers that I wanted to say, so we can go ahead and continue on. Economic impact, pros and cons, which is going to be a very interesting discussion.
Yeah.
Jeremy?
Yeah.
Why don't you start us off here?
Well, here's, Alex initiated this right before, but there are pros and cons. And Alex, you were saying the pros outweigh the cons. I think that's valid. I think that's absolutely a valid argument. I don't have the inverse view of that. I don't think that the cons outweigh the pros. I do think that Disney should be able to build on this land. I do think that traditional zoning is an issue extended beyond just Disney's needs. I don't think the cons outweigh the pros. I just have concerns personally that I would like to be addressed in the ongoing conversations and working with City Council, and I hope including the people of Anaheim as well, in getting this to work in the best possible way for everybody in Orange County. basically. So I'm not against this, but I'm not going to rush to defend the multi-billion-dollar corporation, and I don't think anyone really is, but because I support it. But anyway, just getting that out of the way before we start this conversation. But so one concern I have is surrounding the housing crisis. Obviously, in all the state of California, specifically Orange County, though it is in the top 10 worst scenarios of that crisis. It is right there. In doing a little research about this, it turns out traditional zoning, like what Disney's critiquing, is part of that problem. So again, rezoning policies, that's great, rethinking rezoning policies, but I just want to make sure that adjusting zoning policies for Disney isn't going to end up adversely affecting the better zoning policies that would better benefit the housing crisis. That's one of my major concerns. There was also on the Disneyland Forward website this overall typical corporate tone surrounding job creation. No doubt it will create jobs. A concern I have is more jobs at the same low wages increases income inequality, which it will throughout Orange County. So I want to hear from Disney more of a commitment to, and not as an ultimatum, in general, to increasing people's wages who work in the parks area, the resort area, to a livable wage. That also affects the housing crisis. I'm sorry, I know I'm talking a lot, but I'm also concerned that more high-end retail from one company with low wages across the city, not just in Disney, but Disney also contributing, that actually will have a negative effect on local businesses and the economy, since people will have low wages with more high-end retail, and I'm worried that will price out low-income families as well. I need basically, I need more transparency. I need more specifics. What is this policy going to look like, and what its effects are? So again, I support expansion. I export them to build. I support export. Oh God, the brain. I support Disney being able to build on land they already own, but it's not about cons outweighing pros for me. It's about, I have concerns, and I want to make sure that there's that the city isn't just gonna give in to the multinational corporations' needs, and that there is actually for rezoning laws. So let's make sure these new rezoning policies positively affect fixing the housing crisis, positively affect income inequality and the wage gaps and low wages, and you can also build on the land you want to build on. So I need to know more before I'm like gung ho hashtag Disneyland Forward is all.
I must say, Jeremy just took all the fun out of this for me. You see, because before the show, I thought he was like against this project. So
I know. I saw you. When I started talking, I saw you going, "Oh, I can't wait for this."
Yes, because I had prepared a whole bunch of notes about every possible scenario that Jeremy might present.
I didn't even do that. Wow, that's crazy. I guess I kind of did by doing.
And I did my research in order to present all of my arguments, so that way I could finally take him down. And then he pulls a fast one or a curve. I don't know baseball. And he pulls a curveball, and he's like, I support this project. I just want to hear more about it. And I'm like,
oh my gosh.
So that was my weekend.
Regardless of that, I still want to hear all of your thoughts about how Disney is selling their economic impact, and just any general opinions or specific opinions about speculation about what you think the economic impact will be, and how the city of Anaheim will work with Disney. I'm sure you know far more than I do about the history of their relationship. So talk about that.
I'm sorry. You spoke a bit too fast for me. What do you want me to talk about? I had like it's my fault. I had a brain fart at that moment.
No, believe me, it's my fault. I have ADHD. This happens. This happens even to my therapist. Okay, and it makes him irritable. And then there's a whole lot of shame. Anyway, I don't need to go into that. All right, I'll slow down. I'll use my voice and speech classical training to rein in my thoughts. Regardless of preparing for the epic debate of the century, which I was looking forward to as well. But, let me just, I'll do this as asking questions like an interview, okay? Talk a little about, because the city of Anaheim and Disney have an interesting relationship. So I was wondering, could give a little details about that history and Disney's kind of tumultuous relationship with the city of Anaheim over the years, which would be interesting context, I think, for this.
So at first, the city's relationship with Disney started out great. Back when Walt built Disneyland, the city was 100% behind it. I mean, at first they were, of course, concerned because, as most cities were, they weren't sure if Walt was going to build this like carnival atmosphere. But anyway, after Disneyland was built, they were completely reassured by it. And for several decades after, things were going pretty well. But as soon as things kind of hit the Eisner era, and then from then on, the relationship became more like who's using who. But I mean, in a good way at times. So, for instance, when Disneyland Resort, when Disneyland wanted to become a resort and they needed to get a whole bunch of approvals from the city and things like that, they had to go through a lot because Disney was used to being able to just announce something happening to Disneyland and the city would just be 100% behind it. But when they were announcing that they wanted to build a second park, things kind of got like a bit crazy because the city was kind of torn. The people didn't want this giant park, and then the city council was kind of like, hey, we might actually need this. And then it became a thing where the city had to step aside and say, we have to represent what the people want instead of what we think will drive money. And so ever since then, which was the 1990s to now, there's been this kind of thing where instead of the city just approving everything automatically because they know they'll get more money, in which they know that they will if Disney just does whatever they want, but they also know that they have a responsibility to the people. So now whenever Disney announces something, they have to think of it in terms of how will the local businesses think of this, how will the people think of this, and therefore there's a lot of agreements that Disney and the city enter into. So a couple of years back, when they were planning the Eastern Gateway project, and then they were talking about building the new hotel that was going to go right next to Disneyland Hotel. And Disney assumed that if they had announced all these projects and things that the city would be 100% behind it, and they thought they could take advantage of this opportunity that the city was going to offer to like 5-star hotels and stuff, which is like basically tax breaks and stuff like that if you build a 5-star hotel in the city of Anaheim and blah blah blah. So Disney was going to do all this stuff and they were so excited, but everybody was against it because there was no talks about how Disney was going to pay its people, and how some of the plans for the Eastern Gateway project and such were going to bypass local businesses and all sorts of stuff like that. And so it started to create this like rift where before it was kind of like the relationship was kind of like, back and forth. Now it's kind of like the city was starting to divide itself from Disney and saying, no, you have to do what we say. And so Bob Iger saw this and he decided to, well, I don't know if it was him, but the company decided to cancel those projects in order to try to mend the relationship with the city, because they know that in the end the city will win. Um,
Yeah.
but they do have some pull. So to give an example of the kind of pull Disney has, is that they know that Disney knows that if they don't continue to invest in their resort in Anaheim, uh, things will start to plateau, and then eventually the local economy could start to slide. Things always have to be continuously developing and bringing new people back. You can't just not develop. So they know that they want that, but the city wants to control how that happens. And one of the ways that they do it is that the city offers Disney certain tax breaks for certain amounts of investment that they put in their resort. And so back when the new hotel was going to be built and stuff like that, or was it when the hotel was built, or was it when Star Wars Land was being announced?
It might have been when
But
Star Wars Land.
was it when Star Wars?
I think,
Okay.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Yeah. So the city announced like free taxes from, like, Disney wouldn't have to pay taxes for like so many decades or whatever. It was a contract, it was an ongoing contract. And they were going to renew the contract of not having to pay taxes to the city if Disney promised to invest a certain amount of billions of dollars into their resort over the course of a certain amount of years. And so it basically, a lot of people look at that and they go, "Oh, Disney's not paying their taxes." And it's like, well, no, it's a strategy. By allowing Disney to not pay their taxes and encouraging them to invest in the resort, in essence, they are helping to drive more money into the local economy by continuously building and bringing in new people. So anyway, where this brings us today with this project is that things are it's harder to predict what's going to happen if Disney will get this rezoning and all this stuff done, because the city, they want to make more money with their local economy, but they also know that there's going to be a lot of hurdles to overcome with, like Jeremy said, the housing crisis and such, and wages and all that. It's going to rehash all that stuff that was happening a couple of years back. And the city is going to have to decide, is this good? Do the people want this or do we want this? And so it's kind of unknown what the city will do at this point. I personally feel that the city will compromise and approve certain aspects of the proposed Disneyland Forward initiative, but will probably have a really tight grip on what kind of benefits Disney gets from it. And I think that's kind of how it will happen. So I do believe that we will get some form of approvals on Disneyland Forward, but yeah, it'll be very limited.
Yeah. Yeah, that's excellent summary of that relationship with the context, especially around tax exemptions, which is actually, I don't fully agree. I am kind of in the camp of the Disney's not paying their fair share, because that investment in Disney's eyes goes toward long-term Disney profits than it does the local economy, and that is the effect it has. It's a myth that it trickles down to the rest of the local community. Because the problem is that Disney's still not paying their fair share in taxes, while the small declining family businesses do still have to. So I still don't consider it fair, and I hope that is addressed in these in whatever meetings occur for this. But yeah, I think for me it's I agree with everything else. It's because the zoning.
I don't agree with the view that it doesn't help, the small businesses, because I mean, basically all those local businesses that live in the area or that work in that exist in the area are there because of Disneyland. I mean, if Disneyland had never been built, there would be nothing there. It would just be it probably wouldn't be farmland anymore. They'd probably just barely start developing it into like suburbs. But the whole reason why Orange County is where it is now is because of Disneyland. And I understand that people can make the argument, well, if someone owns like a Chinese restaurant locally and it's like 2 miles from Disneyland, how does that mean anything? And it's like, well, who goes to those restaurants and such? People who work nearby. Those people might work at nearby hotels, nearby restaurants, nearby places that benefit either from tourism or from the people who operate the tourist locations. And so I truly believe that when Disney does invest in their parks, it does benefit the local economy, especially everybody who lives, breathes, and eats, from money that is generated from said tourism. So I believe, I know a lot of people say the whole trickle down thing doesn't work that way, but there is more to it, and I think that, yeah, I mean, without going off on a tangent, yeah, that's what I think.
That's fair. And there's certainly, to your point, certainly, that short-term benefit of tourism. People coming into the city, maybe they don't want to stay at the Disneyland Hotel, so they're going to stay at the motel, or they're going to eat off property. That's true. That does help those businesses in the short term. The problem is that at the end of the day, it's still the billion-dollar company getting these tax breaks and not the smaller businesses. And I do think that that's fundamentally not healthy for a city's economy in the long run. And it does make a city and a community beholden to one company's success. And I think that's a problem, not to mention that Disney wanting to expand their reach in terms of retail experiences and dining experiences is going to have an adverse negative effect on all the smaller retail and dining businesses throughout Orange County. And again, that goes back to more high-end retail with more low income, an epidemic of low income families that has such a long-term negative devastation to cities when that happens. So I agree, but I don't, because it's complex. So I see what you're saying, and that's true. But I think that's also part of the problem. All these businesses then get terrified that if this billion-dollar company all of a sudden stops caring about, Anaheim, and they don't really care about Anaheim, then they're going to be ruined. And that should not be the case. That should not be the case. That's all I'm saying.
But, I mean, you could also say that even if Disney were paying taxes, they could still opt to not care about the city or take their business out. I mean, that would be highly unlikely. But
that's the complexity of the problem, right? Like, oh, well, if you don't give us what we want, then, low-income housing, maybe we won't support it. That's also, and there was kind of that passive-aggressive tone on the website that kind of like actually started to make me skeptical about it in the first place. But I don't know. It's not about cons outweighing pros for me. It's just, those are my concerns, and I need to hear more from the city. I need to hear more from Disney, and I hope both come together and listen to the people of Anaheim, and not just a few examples that lawyers bring in, but what the people's wants and needs are for a prosperous community, a prosperous city that isn't beholden to the needs of one multi-billion-dollar company, and also ensures that these new high-end dining and retail experiences aren't going to have long-term adverse effects on all the other local businesses in the Orange County area.
Yeah, I agree.
I need to see it in policy.
Yeah.
Basically, what I'm saying is I need to see the policy. I need to see to evaluate how that policy is going to have its effect on people, human beings, before I go. I can't wait for the theme park extensions, because I'm definitely excited about that. And we're going to stop this now so we can actually talk about the exciting creative potential behind this. But yes, but you bring up excellent points, and because again, it's complicated. This is not a black and white issue, right? So, and you know what? We're probably going to be talking about this for the next 8 to 9 years. There's going to be a whole lot to talk about regarding this down the line.
Yeah.
But I'd like to also point out that that what Jeremy says is true. It's a very complex issue. And so I would like to advise people to not think of this in a black and white kind of like, point of view. A lot of people are like, oh, Disney is evil, or oh, the city is evil. And I don't think that people should be thinking about it that way. It's very much a dance of the businesses. And and
the new Fantasia sequence,
the new Fantasia, it's the right of
Dance
Disney.
of the businesses.
The right of Disney.
That was good.
So
joke of the show.
Because they're, on Disc Twitter, you see a lot of people that they're just like, oh, Disney is evil and they're trying to take advantage of people. And it's like, well, no, I mean, it's not that simple, Yeah. I mean, they're not wrong, but they're not right either. So that's the thing, is like, I just wish people would just not polarize themselves so quickly on a subject like this.
Yeah.
That's what this whole episode is about. Getting all that information out there for everybody. You both do make some great points. And I guess, like Jeremy said, it's time to move on to the other part of our discussion. We're going to be looking at some of the pieces of concept art, as well as the overhead sort of map graphics that they released as well. And I'd like to point out something Freddie said in chat. Earlier in the episode, Imagineers posted the concept art on Instagram, and Walt Disney Imagineering is heavily involved in this proposal. It's been in development for 2 years, with the goal of filing permits and finalized plans in 2023. And that, I believe that was in regards, or that was said after Jeremy said something to the effect of how, we were talking about how vague the concept art was, and that was Freddie's response to that.
Right.
So, extra context to keep in mind here.
And Freddie, believe me, we want to have you on to talk about this stuff too. So I'm hoping there's more news about it that gets released, so we can have you on as well.
Yeah, very excited. But I guess we can. I'd like to. Well, what piece should we start with? I guess we should start with this overhead map. Do you guys think we should start just looking at the overhead map here? I guess we can start. I'm gonna make this full screen. Yes. And
there we go.
Yeah. So, how do we start? I guess the website had a key with like all the different colors of what all the colors
for the master
meant.
plan.
Yeah, for the master plan. I'm gonna bring that up here as well, actually, just so we know what we're talking about. Okay. I have to turn off dark mode on my browser. Okay. So, yeah, this is the proposal for Disneyland Forward. As you can see, outlined in orange, possible Disneyland Park expansion. Not outlined in orange. That is the solid orange colors indicate possible expansions. The building's colored orange. The building's colored I guess it's like blue, tealish. Possible DCA expansions, and then outlined in orange. Existing Disneyland Park outlined in blue/teal. California Adventure outlined in pink. Downtown Disney District. So I guess we can start with the theme park, quote unquote theme park expansion itself, and then we can move on to the entertainment district, I guess, that they've sort of proposed as well. Yeah, of course, this is the piece of concept art people are taking the magnifying glass to. Oh, I see Moana. Moana could be there. Oh, Pandora. Is that Pandora in that picture? Oh, wait. But of course, this is all just very vague blue sky pieces of concept art. And I think the thing we should start with as well is the fact that I think we mentioned at the top of the show that Disney's trying to reinvent how these themed experiences in the resort work. And I'm guessing their vision of that includes putting the hotels inside the themed experience, building the theme park expansion around the different resort hotels. You have Disneyland Hotel, of course, California Adventure, which we can talk about a little bit later on. But yeah, it is very interesting the way that they have decided to do this, because you have to assume that either way, if these plans go forward, they're probably going to try and include all the theming elements around the hotels, which will make for a very interesting experience. So I guess we can sort of start with that whole quote-unquote redefining, I think was the phrase that they used in the article, of the Walt Disneyland, the Disneyland Resort.
One day.
One day.
One day they'll call it that.
So, I guess, Jeremy, what this main piece of concept art here, what are your thoughts on this? Of course, it is very interesting that they have decided to incorporate this new expansion around the hotels. Yeah, I think it's very interesting. What are your thoughts on that? Just everything.
Yeah. So two things. Yeah. So two things about this. Again, we already covered, this is all this art, and Freddie does point out, and it does, confirm what Alex and I were kind of feeling, which is that definitely Imagineering is involved, has been involved to think about, I think, presentation, how to sell it in a very similar way, although it was more detailed and thought out in Walt's brain in 1954, having Herb Ryman do that Disneyland map, right? To sell something, to propose something. Yeah. Although that was more thought out though. But although this has been in the works for 2 years. So I think there's a lot that we haven't seen that is well thought out. But a couple things. One, and I think, and this is said on the website, and I pulled a quote from it earlier regarding this. I think, and this is totally, when you think about the progression of Chapek and his retail background, this makes, like, it's clicking. It's starting to click for me.
Oh my gosh.
I think the plan is, how can we rethink retail and make it a immersive experience? So I think the plan for this is an immersive retail experience where themed experiences interact, with retail experiences like hotels, like our resort hotels, and our dining experiences, and our retail store experiences. So I think it's a way of making an immersive retail experience that has never been seen before, right? Take this, I don't know if anyone's from Los Angeles who understands this, but like the Grove times a million, right? What was revolutionary about like the Grove and the Commons and all those different things throughout Southern California, those sort of shopping centers that felt very well presented and kind of had themes and trolleys, and was that it was kind of, a themed experience. This is taking that and expanding it, to a million. So, and it makes sense to me because Chapek's background and total philosophy surrounding the theme parks is, how can we expand these places as brand promotion, product promotion, and retail? And this,
or in other words, how can we get that money?
Right. And I think this is the culmination, I think, of that philosophy. And if Iger's legacy was trying to create this multinational corporate ecosystem of different properties and acquired companies and intellectual property, I think Chapek's kind of, building toward this legacy of immersive retail, ambitious immersive retail. And that's what I get is what is being worked on creatively, mixed with the business side. And hey, it's just clicking for me now, my ADHD brain. If you can follow, good luck. Going back to one of our news from the peak, the restructuring and Imagineering, the sort of the business and the creative sort of having equal measure as the two, like the king and the queen, the two leading, roles, executive roles in Imagineering, right? Not just Bob Weiss as president of Imagineering, but Bob Weiss and Barbara Buza, I think, as equal leadership, the business and the creative for that under Josh Damar, the division head. So that's what I'm thinking this is hinting at. Theme parks as immersive retail. Now, the second point is with the master plan. People going, oh my God, there's Pandora. Oh my God, there's Wakanda. Oh my God, there's that. Oh my God, there's Fantasy Springs. I think all that is a demonstration of like this space is not just parking lot. Like we can house this space can fit Pandora.
Yeah.
As reference. This space can fit, Fantasy Springs. That's what I think it's a way to gauge like, oh my God, wow, like this is a space for something huge. Now, what eventually goes into this space in terms of the theme park experiences, I think Imagineering, again, has been working on this for 2 years, apparently. I think they're working on that, and that's not going to be announced for a while. This is just to sell us the idea of how this space can even be used creatively in the first place and how much space there is, So yeah, that's my thoughts on the concept art and master plan.
Yeah. Alex, what about you?
My thoughts are similar in that I think that given the chance, Disney would want to expand their parks into a themed area in certain parts of that section there. That being said, I also feel like they would reserve a space around the Disneyland Hotel and Paradise Pier Hotel area where they could fully theme a immersive shopping and dining experience, just like Jeremy had said. And I do believe he very much hit it on the mark with that too. The fact that they want to emphasize the melding of the two experiences with theming something versus going out and going to a shopping dining experience. I mean, you look at Disney Springs at Walt Disney World, and one of the things that sets it apart from other shopping and dining
Great
complexes, is its theme. Its theme is so beautiful. You look around and it's this really well designed space, and it's not all just. I mean, you look at Downtown Disney, it's all concrete. You look at Garden Walk, it's all concrete. Garden Walk is even worse. The Garden Walk has interesting architectural features, but it's just concrete. And that's great. That's what we're used to. But what's the future? And the future, I think, I agree, is immersive theme. Imagine if, if you could visit, a whole land, for example, Cars Land, but you don't have to pay for the theme park experience. Instead, you walk in there for free, but it's all themed to Cars Land and it's got shopping and dining. So it's like there's people that want to experience stuff like that, because
from my understanding, though, this is not going to be free.
Are you saying that you have to pay admission to enter a shopping and dining district? I wouldn't put it past Disney. I wouldn't put it past
that's what
Disney
I'm saying.
That,
it doesn't surprise me. The company that charges you $20 to $30 for parking. Yeah. So but no, I thought I saw someone on Twitter give a really good analysis about how one of the, it actually might have been T Will in Discord. I don't remember, but just talking about how this is Disney's way of keeping people on property, actually limiting parking so that locals start to think of this as a vacation destination to stay for a weekend. And that if those two sections in the north and the south are theme park extensions, which we don't really know what that is yet, but we'll probably learn more, is that you will have to pay admission to go to the parks that they're extending from in order to have those experiences. And in the master plan, it looks like they're even cutting off that bridge between downtown Disney and where the hotels are. So it looks like it actually might be a part of whatever admission you have to either park. And I don't know how that'll be divided in the space, but I definitely feel like that they're leaning toward this being a extremely high-end, ambitious, paid-for admission retail experience. And while I think that's interesting, the future of like retail experiences is totally in line. And one of the sort of cultural influences that Disneyland has had on urban design, how can we design shopping centers, right, comes from the philosophies of Disneyland, or is it a variation of it. My fear, though, is that Chapek might be pushing this as the future of theme parks, period. That's my concern. That might, I don't have a lot of evidence to prove that, but all I know right now is that this is a highly immersive.
Wait, I'm having trouble understanding what you're saying. Are you saying are you saying that these immersive themed shopping dining experience areas are going to be part of your theme park admission or separate from your theme park admission?
I think it will need, I think from my understanding of those north and south areas connecting to their closest respective parks, is that it will require an admission. Now this might admission. Also, yes. And there might be a separate admission that might be lower to just experience this, but I think that there's I know, alien hands. I'm Jewish. Okay, get over it. We gesture. But I do think this is gonna be it's gonna be admission. It's like, oh, if you want the other retail experience, go to downtown Disney. But I feel like this is trying to kind of be a part of its own experience, but also as another sort of esplanade, between the two parks, because there are now going to be alternate entrances and exits.
Yeah.
You know what I think? I don't believe that. I don't believe that it's going to be an extension of the parks, yet not an extension. I think it is going to be an extension of the parks, but I think that because at least what I see from this concept art, there's rides. Like there's full-on rides, and so
show buildings.
So there is a difference between a themed shopping and dining, area, but the big difference is if it's got rides or not. If it's got rides, that makes it a park,
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I do think that that it could go either way. And I think that one of the interesting things, and I mentioned this on Twitter, was that you can see in the concept art that the hotels are still there in the same spots. And what's kind of cool about that, and I mentioned this on Twitter, was that one of the number one things that people ask for when they stay at one of those hotels is, we want a theme park view. And unless you're staying at Paradise Pier Hotel, you really don't get a theme park view. I mean, the Disneyland Hotel is so far away from Disneyland that really all you see is a bunch of warehouses, or so it looks like. And so it's like, you don't really, and even those rooms, they sell them as, they don't even call them a theme park view. They say you have the potential. Fireworks view. There you go. Fireworks view. So it's like, but if you notice, this whole themed area surrounds these hotels almost, 360 degrees, at least three sides of each hotel. And that's really cool, because people would pay top dollar to stay in a room that overlooks these themed areas like that, and so, yeah, but but when it comes to people who say like, oh, this is gonna be like, this could be a third gate, maybe it could.
No, I'm not. Yeah,
I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying that it potentially in the future could be a
Sure.
third gate, but they would have to get rid of those 2 hotels.
Yeah.
Because you could put a hotel next to a theme park such as Grand Californian, but the last thing you would want is to see those towers in the middle of a properly built theme park.
Sure.
Like, like they got away with it with California Adventure and Paradise Pier Hotel, but I mean,
Did
barely.
they really?
They didn't, but they say that they
Grand
did.
Californian, I think,
what I
works
learned?
nicely, but Paradise Pier Hotel, no.
You know what I learned about Disney fans is if you say it enough, it's true. And so when Disney fans tell me, "Oh yeah, Galaxy's Edge fits in Disneyland perfectly," I go, "Just because you say it a million times doesn't make it true."
Yeah.
It doesn't mean the land is bad on its own merits. It's just
it's not bad on its own merits.
Also,
it just doesn't,
this right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I have some thoughts
Should-
as well
Oh
before
yes,
we move on.
please.
Yeah, please.
You
I
rarely
do-
have thoughts, so be cool.
No,
to
yeah,
listen to.
I am very excited about this. I guess again, I want to point out this is just our speculation because there is absolutely
Yes.
zero concrete information out there.
Right.
I think the only piece of concrete information, if I'm recalling right, was that these are extensions of their respective theme parks, because you can see there's areas connecting from California Adventure across the street. There's areas connecting from Disneyland across the street. But then you can also see a separate esplanade area with like it almost looks like places where you would check your tickets in near the hotel.
Ticket booths and
Ticket
and
booths, yeah.
gates.
So it's very interesting. So it is from my understanding that these are 2 separate areas that are extensions of their respective theme parks that will require theme park admission to enter. And I guess, there's a path directly to the Disneyland Hotel, so you don't have to, it'd be ridiculous to have to buy a ticket to get to your hotel.
That's also that's true.
Yeah.
But also I just want to clarify again. I know just because the way this information got communicated to everyone, even that is not confirmed.
Yeah. This is just my
this is showing the potential for maybe how the space can be used, and I'm sure again they're working on stuff that'll be announced down the line. But again, I don't want to say, oh, because it's in the master plan, that means it's easily visible, that means it's confirmed. I just want to clear that.
Yeah. And we could
but yes,
spend
I'm sure it's something they're thinking about though.
Sure, yeah. And we could spend a lot of time analyzing this one piece of concept art, what it means for the future of the parks, because you could potentially fit a whole third gate there, like Alex said, but then you'd have the hotels smushed
You really
inside.
could.
So I think the one...
But
go ahead.
I know, what's the one? What's the
okay,
one?
I was going to say, I
need to
think
hear
the
what
one
the
last thing that we should mention is that there's
Okay.
a second tower to the Paradise Pier Hotel. Am I wrong?
There's always been a,
Has
it's
there
always
always
split
been
tower.
2 towers?
Yeah,
guess there is,
it's considered one tower because it's connected, but it's designed to look split.
What?
So it looks like 2 towers, but it's one.
Oh. Well, I never knew that then. Okay. We learned something new every day.
But,
Well, then
I
that
guess
doesn't...
It's been so long.
If
It's
you
been so
look
long.
up at where Disneyland Hotel is, you can see the DVC tower that is planning to be built.
Oh, true.
You can the parking structure next to the Disneyland Hotel is going to be intact. That's there today, but it's very well hidden. It looks like just part of the building. And yeah. Oh, I wanted to mention also, if you look where the Paradise Pier Hotel is right across the street from Grand Californian, you can see a covered pedestrian bridge that goes over that, like a little narrow bridge. That's interesting.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up too. Yeah. This is all really interesting, but like I said, we could spend a lot of time on this one piece of concept art. And we have already spent a lot of time on this, but we do want to move on to the second sort of piece of concept art that they've released, which is, they call it a quote-unquote new kind of Disney entertainment. Could include theme park, hotel, retail, dining, and entertainment. Yeah, so this is on the southeast side of the property. I just did that quick maths up in my head just there. So this is, again, what do you guys make of this? So this is they're pitching this as a second downtown Disney, a Disney Springs themed dining shopping area. That's essentially
at least that's what they're saying. Hey, this space has the potential to fit something like that here.
Yeah,
is basically what.
So they would I don't know, because it's so weird, because if you go to the previous piece of concept art, you can still see they haven't done any alterations to downtown Disney except cut off the ESPN zone and all those other buildings. So they would have.
It begs the question, like, why would there be two?
Yeah. So that could sort of. We could spend a lot of time discussing what that could mean for the future of the Disneyland Resort. Could that mean, I'm just going to throw out some hypotheticals here. Could that mean moving downtown Disney off-site to this new place, redoing completely downtown Disney as an extension of the extension of the extensions? I don't know. It could mean a lot of things, but so that is essentially this second piece of concept art. There's really not much to discuss, I don't think, in way of this, but I do think it is interesting. It's somewhere in the Disneyland Forward website. They did mention eventually in the future bringing back the idea of the pedestrian bridge that links the Esplanade on the east side to the sort of parking area that they pitched for the Eastern Gateway. So in the Disneyland Forever proposal, they have been, at least toying with the idea of bringing back some form of the Eastern Gateway. Yes.
But this time, the pedestrian bridge would include a walkway access to Harbor Boulevard, so that way it doesn't bypass the building.
That is the specific wording, bypass, I think, is what they used in the website, which was a big problem. I guess one of the main problems as to why the Eastern Gateway, of course, never got built. But that is the legacy of that will continue on forward, which I guess is good to see. So that is the second piece. Do you guys have any? It's really not necessarily.
Well, I do think so. Okay, if I were to venture a guess, remember how I said that the city would kind of compromise with Disney and approve certain things but not approve other things?
Yeah,
I think this is more likely to be fully approved by the city than a theme park. And I'm not saying that they won't approve the theme park idea, but I think that this has a more likely chance of being approved because it's exactly what the city wants: more shopping, more dining, more businesses coming in. This Disney Springs type place includes a massive hotel, a Disney hotel. So it'd be the resort's fourth hotel. And it would just have all this like wonderful shopping and dining experience. And it would be right across the street from the convention center, which is perfect because the Anaheim wants more people to rent out the convention center and stuff like that. So I think that this would be even more something that the city would want to approve. And honestly, I like it. I like the idea of, like, imagine if they had like closed most of downtown Disney besides like the essential stuff, like maybe some restaurants. You do have people at the hotels staying there. You want restaurants and stuff. But I think that when it comes to retail and entertainment, I think they should move all that to that spot where Toy Story lot is, build all that, because I think that's great. I mean, it's a more dedicated space and it's beautiful. There's gardens, there's a lake. It's
sure.
I even feel like I once said here on Matterhorn Mondays that I didn't understand why they didn't make downtown Disney more beautiful with like actual water and stuff, because
Yeah.
they got fountains, but it's not the same as like having a lake and having, you know, and there was concept art way back when they were thinking of Westcott for actually building a shopping and dining district with hotels and lakes and stuff. So it's like, I always felt like downtown Disney just kind of missed its mark on that part. I mean, it looks great for an early 2000s outdoor shopping district, but,
right.
But I mean, now today, like I would want to, like, even if I don't buy anything, I would want to go there just to see it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. You actually just bringing up Westcott and just how the company figuring out how to transform Disneyland into a resort complex in general. You just reminded me of, and also this idea of, you know, theme parks as, you know, a immersive, you know, retail, dining, hotel, all combined into one. Tony Baxter, I remember in the Imagineering story, he talked about how one of his concepts for Westcott was actually being able to stay like in each of the countries and what would be the equivalent to their world showcase, and being able to step out in the middle of the night and you know, be in this immersive environment, you know. And I think it's the better way to do it with the, you know, the tribal knowledge of Imagineering and what theme design is than what we see with that, you know, hypothetical concept art on, you know, to the west. But my concern though I agree with you. I think if the city of Anaheim is going to approve anything, it'll be that Disney Springs potential space. That also, though, I can see them doing that. That also is a part of my concern, is that brings in outside high-end chains to the city of Anaheim, which will discourage tourists from going, who are on vacation, from going to the other local businesses. So that is something that I was talking about before, more bringing in more outside high-end businesses into the city of Anaheim.
Wow, hold on a minute. How do you even know that Disney won't bring in local businesses and provide a space for them to sell?
I would love for them to do that.
I mean, what if it was, but wait, what if it was, you see, because Disney's breaking a lot of their own molds here when it comes to the themed shopping and dining, you know, thing. What if they want to like create a space that's kind of like, you ever been to like one of those retail locations? I don't know. Like there's one in Tustin called the District, and it's basically a building, and it's got like tons of little like small businesses all clustered into this indoor space, right?
Great.
And one of the most successful places is like the Packing House, I think, in Anaheim, because it looks really pretty, and then they want to build a even better one in Costa Mesa. And so I can't help but wonder, like, what if Disney like catches on to it? They're like, wait, people really like these like little tiny coffee shops and these little like specialty places. And there's currently no like big companies that do specifically that. I mean, yeah, you can bring in Starbucks, but they don't have the same quality as like a miniature like coffee house and stuff like that. So what if they create space for that there? What do you have to say to that then?
That would be great.
Well, again, all of this is hypothetical, and I would absolutely support that. I would absolutely support that, especially if it means them collaborating with the local, smaller, declining family businesses in the area and giving them the space with affordable rent to be able to expand their business. I would absolutely support that. I don't think that's going to happen at all.
They
not
would do
with that attitude.
They would do it, but they would.
Well,
force
I'm
the
not an
owners.
Anaheim City Council, so I don't. My attitude does not affect that decision.
That's true.
But I would be surprised. I would be for it, and that's why. And again, all of this is hypothetical.
Jeremy, would you
right?
bet
What they're
$100
presenting
on it? That they won't do it?
No, because again, this is all hypothetical. You know, but But that's why, I'm hoping that there's an actual, the city of Anaheim isn't just going to do this. They're not going to grovel, that they're actually going to collaborate with Disney, and Disney's going to collaborate with them and the people of Anaheim, so that something like that, which is an excellent idea, happens.
Yeah.
Do you
That's
know
what I'm saying.
Do you know if there currently are any tourists that visit the Anaheim Resort that go to a family-run small business?
I'm sure they do. I'm sure there are that do. Low income, people who really saved up for the trip on a budget. They're staying. They can't stay on property, so they're staying at a motel or something. They can't afford to eat on property. I'm sure that happens. I was actually trying to look up the statistics for this. I can't, but it was too late after we put everything together.
I'm skeptical of it. And the reason why is because in the resort district, there's like a handful
I see what you're
of small
saying.
businesses. Like on the street corner of Harbor and Catella, there's
So I'm with you. I don't think they do. I thought you were leading to another point. I think they don't. That's the point. And also Disney doesn't want them to. They want to create more experiences that keep them on property. And spend more money for a high-end retail experience. But that has adverse effects on the other businesses. Shouldn't we want to support, shouldn't we want to create something if Disney wants to participate in that? That's fantastic. An immersion between the community and Disney.
I mean, that would be great, but there's nowhere to take those people. There's nowhere to take the tourists. You can't just have Disney set up a bus service to drive them somewhere. There's nowhere to go.
No, I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about the point you just brought up about what if that shopping, that Disney Springs is actually going to be in collaboration with the local smaller family-owned businesses in the area. That's a solution to that, and you brought that up to me, and I thought it was a great idea. Yeah. But I don't think that's in Disney's thinking right now. But what that'll take is the people of Anaheim coming up with solutions. I'm sure there's going to be town halls about this and bringing it to them. But the multinational corporation is not in the mindset of how can I boost the competition that's easier to wipe out. Okay, that's just not the case. There's no historical precedent for it. I would love to be surprised, obviously, because it would mean less people suffering economically. But again, we could talk about this for hours, and we will be talking about it for more hours in the coming years. So, and it's been it's almost been 2 hours on the show.
Well, then I'll just say,
I want to give you the final word, though. Yeah.
Oh, yes. I'll just say that if you guys like my idea where Disney sets up a space for a bunch of small businesses to gather around like a market and sell their goods and their services, then you should all take to Twitter, at Disney, at Anaheim, all that stuff. Get out on social media and say, hey, this is a cool idea. Because not to give me credit, but I actually do think that's a cool idea. I think what if Disney had a space for all these small businesses to cluster around and sell what they sell best,
Go to the town hall meetings as well.
Thumbs up, Alex. Thumbs up.
Yes. There could be a brothel corner, and all that.
No, that's going to be the whole land. That's what it's all themed around. Okay. Well, I'd like to end off on one final point here, and Jeremy did bring it up at the very beginning of this discussion. The passive, quote unquote, passive aggressiveness that Disney has been putting forward towards the city of Anaheim that we've seen from them. The verbiage that they've been using this past few years. I'd like to read an excerpt here from the Disneyland Forward website. Quote, from Cars Land and Star Wars Galaxy's Edge to the new Pixar Palace parking structure, Disney has spent billions of dollars over the last 2 decades investing in theme park experiences and infrastructure. While Disney has the development rights and the desire to continue investing in Anaheim, the space to develop integrated offerings is severely limited without broadening the uses allowed within each park, district, or demolishing and replacing many beloved theme park attractions. Further, integrated developments and theme park investments are not possible. So, yeah, that's, of course, Disney throwing that out there. If you don't back this, we're going to have to destroy Small World to make way for a new shopping district. That's basically what that means. Yeah, very interesting wordage, of course. I just want to end that there, end the discussion. Bringing that up because, it's important, I think, but, yeah. I guess we will see moving forward what the Disneyland Forward, not Disneyland Forever, the Disneyland Forward project brings the city of Anaheim. And you better believe we are going to be following this very tightly within the coming weeks, coming months, however long it takes for new pieces of news to resurface. And yeah, that was a really great discussion, everybody. I think we hit the nail on the head, what this whole project is all about. Cleared up a lot of confusion for everybody, hopefully. And of course, you're not going to get the full view, everything, unless you go through the websites, DisneylandForward.com. Read through all the legal terms. I'm not good with that kind of stuff. That's why we're doing this, for the other people who aren't that good at, or who don't like reading. So you can just listen to us talk and hear our opinions about it. But, yeah, do you guys have any final thoughts before we wrap up today's episode, this topic?
I don't think so. There'll be more to talk about coming up.
Yes.
I can feel it.
Alex?
I'd just like to say, smash that like button and share this on social media so you can get the word out that we had this immense discussion about this whole thing and that you liked it. So,
smash that like button, turn on notifications, subscribe. Yeah, thank you all for joining us today. This was a longer episode than usual, but it's packed full of content. Great content, hopefully, that you guys will find entertaining. Yeah, I guess before we sign off here, Alex, would you like to say a little something about your channel, where people can find you to follow, subscribe, etc.?
Yes. First of all, my channel is Alex the Historian. Sorry, I forgot. Alex the Historian. I'm sure Matt will put a link below to that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of new stuff coming to my channel. Some of it won't be Disney even. Some of it will be other stuff, such as, Artemis, Queen Mary, all that. So I really love history, and I want to discuss a bunch of stuff. So look forward to that. You can also find me on Twitter at Alex A Historian. So it's a little bit different, Alex A Historian, where I share my, heated opinions on things.
Link below. Follow Alex. Subscribe to Alex. Everything, of course, will be linked below. And, of course, links to all of our socials will be down in the description as well. And I'd love to hear what you guys have to think in regards to this Disneyland Forward proposal that the company's put out. Are you for it? Are you not? Are you against it, would be the terms to say. Are you for it or against it? Yeah. It's very interesting. There's a lot of stuff that we left out of this discussion because we could have kept, going for a while. But, we'll pick up, I'm sure, at a later date once more information has been announced. And, yeah, I guess that wraps up everything. Thank you all for coming to today's episode. And as always, have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Goodbye.